How's it going? How's it going? So I'm not sure what the release schedule of these videos will be in the long run, but I really, for quite some time now, have been wanting to discuss publishing, self-publishing, publications, anything that kind of lives in that space. Um, and one of the reasons for it is that I personally strongly feel that there are two ways that you can properly display your work. The first one being in a gallery show of sorts where you have complete control over every aspect of the presentation, from the quantity to the size of the prints to really the intimacy of the location. Everything is under you. And while you can't do all of those things, you can do a lot of them with publications. You have so many options to choose from, and it's entirely up to you in terms of the story that you want to tell. That's something that, to be honest, can't really be told through a lot of other mediums that we use to share photographs with today. Social media being the biggest one, places like Instagram. While you can curate your feed, you have no control over how that feed is read on the receiving end. And that's something that I wish more people put thought into, is not simply putting the content out there, but putting it out there with an understanding or an expectation of how people are going to consume it. And so that leads me into kind of what I really wanted to be discussing in this first portion of this undetermined series. I'm not sure how long it's going to go. And that is kind of small publications. And one thing that I've been struggling with, and really part of the reason why it took me so long to start making videos here again, is because I wasn't really entirely sure who I was talking to and who I wanted my audience to be. The reality of it is that so often today, the people who photographers are marketing to and who photographers are presenting their work to are other photographers. The idea of this kind of art community that's buying art and appreciating art is something that's incredibly hard to break into. So if you want to get your work out there and you want more people to see it, really you're spreading it to other photographers. That's who most of my followers are on social media. That's who most of the people who will be watching this video are other photographers looking to gain something out of what I'm saying here. And the thing that I struggled with is that often what I'm saying here is not directly related to my work. So you, as the photographer, who are you pitching to? Who are you giving your work to? And if you're watching this channel, I'm going to assume that you're probably not like a wedding photographer. You're probably not going to, conventions and really pushing on social media and like Facebook groups for weddings. You as a photographer advertising your wedding photography services. You're probably watching this because you're looking for ways to look at yourself as an artist and that sort of thing. And so one thing that is kind of a remnant of the first group of not professional, but like commercial photographers that has seemingly carried over to the second group of photographers is the business card. And it's simply an antiquated piece of communication. It's something that no one in my position, no one in your position should really have a use for, because the bottom line is you either tell people to follow you on the internet or you can just try and present your photos, because that's why you want to direct them to your website, to all these other things. And so what I've gathered here with me today, and now that I've realized that this introduction took far too long to get through, is this series. And I just went upstairs. I have a decent collection of zines, so I just went and grabbed a few that I wanted to share. So these are the first three by Haruna Sato. Oops, just dropped one. So we'll talk about those. And then I've got these two from Anne Holland, and then I've got one that's actually from a company, a motorcycle company, but I wanted to discuss it anyway, and then one from a Japanese photographer, Kurosawa Okada. So where I'll start is with Anne Holland, and the reason I wanted to talk about small zines is really using them as a replacement for the business card. So this is, I met Anne in Dallas in September, and I went to Policon, and discussed, self-publishing and really all the different ways that you can publish, and kind of a lot of the stuff that I'll be talking about in this video. But one of the things that I discussed are these, which is really one of the most basic versions of a zine. It's made out of a single piece of 8.5 by 11 paper. You fold it into eight pieces, print on one side, and then you can fold it and cut it in such a way that it creates a little booklet, and some staples can really help just control how it's viewed. But anyway, my point being that this one's color, but if you did it in black and white, you can get them for I believe it's 12 cents a piece at Kinko's or FedEx office or whatever it's called now. And so at that point, you're really getting into the territory in terms of individual pricing of business cards. But what you can do is now you have control over the story, and you have control over the photos that's whoever you're handing this to is being seen. You have a story that's being told all in one nicely put together component. This one's color, so it's going to cost a little bit more, but it's still a great example. And then Anne also puts them in little bags of various types. This one's a peanut bag. I'm not sure what kind of bag this is, but same idea. And then you can get a little bit more advanced, going back to these Haruna Soto zines. So it takes that same basic principle, but uses some very stark color contrast. And the benefit of these is that they're left unstapled, and so they're kind of tricky here to unfold. But once you do unfold them, and this is something that I've seen a few times, pardon me, trying to get this figured out here, is that once they're unfolded, you can present a larger photograph. So I've seen a few different people do this in different ways, and I apologize that it's not completely coming together, but that's essentially what I'm getting at there. And then you fold it up. I'll get figured out later. But you fold it up, and there it is. And so again, same thing. This one has more pages to it, obviously. I think it's an 11 by 17 piece of paper. Still rather cheap to do. And then, so while we're on that topic, here's Copyright Tokyo from Kurosawa, as I mentioned. Actually, this is the wrong one. But still a very good example. Double stitch, saddle stitch, just a handful of photographs, all presented in a great little package. Comes with a little circular print, and it comes in a little plastic baggie. And then lastly, I'll touch on this one really quick before I get back to my main point. So you can see this is made presumably from an 8.5 by 11 cut into quarters, so using roughly the same format as Anne Holland's here. Hey cat. Double-sided though, and then bound in a little bit more of a traditional format. So this one's a book type. But my point being is that once you start producing these, and if you're able to find a format that works for you and get the cost down, it will really allow you to ignore really trying to make money off of this. Because I think that's what I'm getting at, is that get the idea of making a profit off of these out of your head. The point of these isn't so that you can enjoy your fabulous wealth. The point of these is to hand them out for free. Handing them out for free to anyone you come across as a business card of sorts is going to do you as a photographer a much bigger service. I worked in marketing and branding for a while, and now I'm indirectly involved in sales and getting products online. And one of the things that is it's a fundamental is the more work you put on whoever you're giving something to, the less likely they are to do it. So if you hand someone a business card that has your social media on it, I mean, think about the steps. They open their phone, they have to open up Instagram, let's say. They have to search for you if you're not giving them your handle explicitly, or if your handle's complicated, they have to make sure they're searching for it right. Then they're looking through your feed, then they're deciding they want to follow you. There's a lot of decision and a lot of opportunity for that person to say, no, I don't care. With this though, you're presenting them all the information, and they don't have to do any work but open it. They take this little publication, they turn to the first page, they can turn to the second, and they can see your work. They see a snapshot of you within this. And if it's something that they're interested in, then they're driven to go to your social media, then they're driven to find you and seek you out. And that communication, that direct line of contact is much more likely to happen. But furthermore, once you start establishing yourself as the kind of photographer who's doing things like this, there's a drive behind that. There's a desire for people to contact you. And so I mean, I do this sort of thing with landscapes. Landscapes I do put online and I charge for, but ultimately I produce them cheap enough, and really I sell them cheap enough that if I give a couple of them away, it's not going to hurt me in any way. And so that's really what I want to get out. And you bring a few of these with you everywhere you go. If someone wants to pay you for one, fine, but really you're giving them out to everyone. You can give them out to other photographers, as we discussed at the beginning of this video, depending on who your audience really is. But more importantly, if you're going to events within the artistic community, going to gallery openings and book launches and all these other things that aren't just necessarily, gear talks, it's like you go to I remember going to photography meetups based on Flickr years ago, and one of the things that we would always end up doing is talking about cameras. But if you start going to some of these things that are catered towards the end result of the artistic format, you're going to find people who are in it for that, not necessarily for the gear, for the process. And so those are the people who you really want to be handing this kind of stuff out to, because those are the people who will help you advance your photographic career further, and it'll help you get your work out to more people. So I know that I didn't really touch on the construction of any of these zines, and we will have videos later on where we talk about putting together your work in a more presentable way, hopefully. Anyway. But thank you for watching. Please be sure to follow me on social media, and I know it is a lot of steps with opening the app and searching for my name and whatnot. So I've made it pretty easy, and I've put links directly to all of my social media channels in the description below. But thank you for watching, and until next time.